evolution of the voice. It's we have today the 7th of October 2020, and after actually post COVID-19, we're going to discuss actually in a fire chat with some very senior experts around the table. We have Ilija from MGI, we have Alper from Odine Solutions, and of course, Mr. Patrick George from iBasis Tofan Group. I'll give them a minute later to introduce themselves, but already a warm welcome from the four of us throughout the world, actually. So, voice strategies, opportunities, challenges, so the path to follow. Guys, it's exciting to have you all and to listen to some of the telco veterans about this evolution of the voice. The MEF, as we greatly thank them, creates actually a platform for industry-leading players to discuss and highlight the developments, challenges, and the opportunities from the respective point of view within the wholesale voice market. So now, my name is Erik van Stokkkom. I'm the ambassador for the Carrier community, and as of today, we are the media partner of the MEF, and we're happy to be so. Carrier community, just in a nutshell, is an exclusive global telecom club with industry networking platforms. So we organize events, congresses, webinars, interviews, magazines, newsletters, and the most important, the press releases. So before we start with the panel discussion, ladies and gentlemen, and within the time frame of this panel discussion, which is roughly an hour, you have the possibility actually to actively participate with us through the chat box with questions you might have for the experts in the panel, and ask us any questions you want to ask, and I will get them and I'll collect them and I'll put them within our questions to the guys. Next to that, actually, we organize an audience poll, so it's not about in or out, but it's more that you're all invited to vote. After the panel discussion, we'll come up with the result. So I do encourage you to participate actually as much as possible, and we all would like to thank you for that. So the questions of the poll is actually, will 5G bring the positive impact? Is that a yes? Is it a no? Or is it too early to say? So please start voting and come up with your questions, because we would love to answer your questions. So let's move ahead with the panel, and I'll give them a quick moment to introduce themselves. Patrick, if I may give you the floor first to quickly introduce yourself, your company, and whatever you want to share with us.
Thank you, Erik. Thank you. So it's because I'm the gray hair guy. Okay, this is why I'm beginning. So hello everybody, very glad to be with all of you today. So I'm Patrick, I'm from Belgium. I'm one of the co-founder of the Tofan Group. You know, this group has been inspired by Alexandre Pebro. So I'm in this wholesale industry on the last 25 years. Very excited and very pleased to be in this industry, which is a people business. And currently I'm in charge of product and business development at iBasis, and also part of the M&A for the Tofan Group.
Merci, Patrick. And from Belgium, I think let's go to Turkey, Istanbul. Alper.
Thank you, Erik. Hi, everyone. This is Alper Tunga Burak. I'm the CEO of Odine Solutions, a software and solutions and a systems integrator company with customers in 36 countries as of today, providing infrastructure connectivity and network virtualization services for fixed and mobile operators worldwide.
Thank you, Alper. And let's move a bit up north to the mid of Europe, a beautiful country. It's called Switzerland, and in the countryside of Zug, close to Zurich. Ilija, the floor is yours.
Yes, hi everybody. Pleasure to be here. Thank you, Patrick. Thank you, Alper, and thank you, Erik, to give us the opportunity. I'm Ilija, co-founder and managing partner of MGI, which is since 20 years trying to help and support the business of the big boys, big players like Patrick and Alex, We consider ourselves as a niche player specialized on Middle East and African countries, and we are pleased to have a seat on the table here to discuss the trends of the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Ilija. And Ilija, together with Alper and Patrick, a big honor having you here on this panel, because it's not every day and not even possibly once a year that so many and such a lot of senior expertise is around the table with such a long history in telecom, and especially in wholesale telco. So let me put out Patrick, actually for you, maybe the first question: how can you define actually the current wholesale voice market of today? What do you see in general? Is margins still dropping? Do you see regional differences, consolidations, which you're an expert in actually, and maybe IoT, 5G, IPX? What's going on?
That's a very short question. I guess it's no. So it's I guess it's always as always a very interesting moment in this industry. First, I guess I will concentrate on the voice side. I guess we all know that voice is under strong pressure, especially the last 3-4 years. It has been always very competitive, but now because the overall VoIP business itself is decreasing. I guess it's putting pressure everywhere on the planet. Of course, also our good friend COVID has a different type of impact on different side of the business, and probably different from region to region. So that's something we need to keep in mind. So I guess the name of the game, I guess, is probably there is a big pressure for on the middlemen people. So more and more, again, people are looking for quality. More and more people are looking to have to avoid this what used to be sometimes the case in the past, to have multiple hops between the guy who plays the call and the guy who has to receive the call. I guess more and more to favor direct route, to favor retail quality routes. I guess that's what we see generally on that front. This voice business is every day more complex. Origin-based routing and pricing in EU is complexifying all our systems and make it this business even more complex every day. So it needs automation, it needs efficiency, it needs quality, and all of that in a kind of environment which is under strong pressure. So I guess as a company, you need to take care about your own positioning. I mean, it could be a niche player, you could be a kind of traditional wholesale player, you could be a retail provider. I guess there are space for a lot of people, but I guess it's important to know what is your situation, to continue to invest in your systems, because it's key to have the information to be able to troubleshoot when problems happen. I guess one of the big challenge for the whole industry is the fight against different type of fraud. Fraud is a buzzword. You have multiple fraud. Some of them is not even qualified legally as fraud, but it's bypass. In some of the country is legal. It's bypass on the quality, bypass on termination rate, bypass on the origin-based routing pricing for European surcharge. It's fraud, that some hijacking on the number range of PBX and all of that. So and that's why the positioning we want to take to help our operator partner is really to be there to solve for them the complex solution, and then to help them to focus on their core business. And typically one of the core important factor for them is the deployment of 5G in multiple networks. So that's in a nutshell. So you need to adapt your resources, adapt your system, and constantly evolve there. That's why for us, it's important with our strategy being there for the long run, an independent player. The consolidation aspect, so to rebound on the second part of your question, the M&A front, it's important because I guess some of the people begin to realize, and especially with the the COVID crisis that maybe their voice business is not profitable anymore because again, this increasing complexity and the price pressure, the margin pressure. And then we are there to entertain discussion with them, to help them to, again, to focus their energy, their capex, their engineering on what are their own priority. And I guess people like us can consolidate and give premium quality of service with guaranteed transparency on the cost evolution to the people. So I guess that's one of the, for me, the consequences of this crisis is more and more in different places on this planet, people begin to think about, okay, what's in it for me? Do I want to continue this voice business on my own, like I used to do the last 15 years? Or maybe it's the time to refocus my energy and my resources. And finally, I guess it's a little bit outside of voice, but it's IPX business and the mobile services is something also has been pressurized because of the COVID crisis and of course the big impact on the roaming side. But again, their quality, fight against fraud, security system, value-added services to help mobile operators to take fact-based decision and to bring them actionable information, it's important. So in a nutshell,
Thank
long
you.
answer to a short question.
Thank you, Patrick. But because I know my question was long and a lot of sub questions in that. So thank you very much for sharing your view on the current wholesale voice market. Ilija, Patrick was just mentioning, let's say, niche players, and as you mentioned in your introduction, you see yourself and MGI more, let's say, as a niche player, although you're almost there in the market since 20 years and surviving on a very good basis. And being a specialist in Africa and in the Middle East, how do you see the current landscape evolving in the wholesale voice?
Well, thank you very much, Patrick, for answering the long question with a good overview. I couldn't agree more. I'd like to start, first of all, also that this whole ecosystem has, of course, become much smaller. There is just limited space for a number of players. And as Patrick correctly said, I think the middleman, the pure wholesale players who are looking to make some money with cheap and cheerful services are likely to die, or I don't see them having any space in that ecosystem going forward. COVID has probably been an accelerator, at least in the mind of people, but definitely I think everybody should focus on the core competence, like Patrick rightly said. And I see that players like Dofon or the big MNOs, they're consolidating either within their own group by providing services to their different opcos, or building a powerhouse like iBasis, Dofon, who can provide these services and systems and this know-how and also the size and access and reach to, let's say, more standalone type of players who have an equal need for it. Clearly, the MNOs should be focusing on their network rollout and on the services they are providing to their retail clients. The bigger players in between should focus on providing, let's say, holistic platform which allows these MNOs to purchase these services, exchange these services with other players. And then for niche players, you mentioned it, I don't think it takes, it's a question of how long a niche player is in the market. We are trying to remain what we are and kind of excel on that. Clearly, talking about Africa or the Middle East, some Southeast Asian places, or also in South America, you have a backlog in terms of infrastructure development, which needs to be covered. There are incumbent operators who still want to play a role. And I think that's where we can help integrate with the larger players.
Okay, thank you so much, Ilija. Alper, listening to Patrick and Ilija, let's say on the operator side, if I may say so. You with the platform and with Odine Solutions, how do you look on the market? Well, what do you see happening? What's going on? What is your view? Can you share, please, your views with us?
Yeah, of course. Well, actually, I can say that the COVID situation has helped the industry, but not COVID alone, but the evolution of the digital transformation as a fact becoming a reality has positively impacted the industry. And why? Because we have been discussing the fact that the margins are shrinking, the traffic is now being shifted to OTT, the middle players are diminishing one by one because of price erosion, the minutes are decreasing, so all negative stuff about wholesale voice. But when you look at the numbers today, after the COVID situation, when you look at the stats, there's a 20% increase in international voice traffic in March 2020 compared to the same month in 2019. The roaming traffic, however, has dropped by 30%, not to mention the travel restrictions, but the average length of the calls increased by more than 30% in March and over 60% in April 2020 compared to 2019. So this is the volume effect of COVID. The travel restrictions, of course, have hit the signaling and roaming traffic and revenues. So carriers had to look for other means of making up revenues because of the loss in the roaming income. And there has been a lot of shift this time, which became a necessity due to the pressure to minimize the OPEX from TDM to voice over IP. So now we have been waiting for this TDM to voice over IP migration, not for the tier 2 or the tier 3 segment, but for the mobile operators, for the big tier ones to literally shift from TDM and just give away their legacy big boxes with circuit switched networking hardware to packet switch solutions. Now this is happening. And now we started to see the benefits of cloud and virtualization, and we have noticed all these operators utilizing their cloud and virtualization muscles that they have been building against the OTT players. And all these becoming a reality. So the COVID situation actually triggered lots of things, mainly on the OPEX saving side, CAPEX saving side, digital transformation, and looking for new revenues for the lost income, which is mainly due to travel restrictions affecting their roaming. So this is the way I see it. There are other factors that we notice actually. What we have seen is that the industry, not only on the wholesale side, but on the consumer networking, on the consumer voice side, which means the core network of the mobile operator as well. The time has come for network transformation and digital transformation and virtualization, cloud-based technologies. So, and how do I link all this change with the wholesale world? Whatever is happening on the core networks is now also happening on the wholesale networks as well, which means the operators now started thinking about also investing into their edge networks, which are the networks that they utilize for wholesale voice, due to the fact that they don't have another option to cope up with the pressure of revenue losses due to roaming, travel restrictions, and the daily price erosion, which is caused by the OTT players. So this is the way I see it in a nutshell.
Okay, thank you. So Patrick, to come back to you, and you mentioned already a couple of them, but what do you see as, let's say, the key concerns actually, which is facing the voice market and industry of today, and what are the main challenges we're facing, and of course, you know, to what extent is number portability representing a challenge for the voice carrier operation? I mean, this is a question which came already from the chat box, from the audience.
So again, a very broad answer to this question. There are multiple challenges. It's of course the efficiency on your factory, on your solution, you know, because people expect quality. When we mean quality, is constant level of high quality. You cannot have drops of that quality. Fast response when something happens, because always some problem can happen in the network. So having your system constantly to evolve, that's a real challenge, to make sure that you stay at the top and you still always be as knowledgeable as possible and as rapid on the ball when those changes happen. In terms of the commercial side, I guess this continue to be open to new businesses, to new type of business model. For example, a company which was created 12 years ago, but we can say like Twilio, you know, it was launched in 2008, but appears on most of our radar probably later than that. Today is one of the big source of collecting the traffic from the retail. So we used to have the traditional MNO fixed operator to collect. Now there is a new source with those type of players. So what's the role for us? How can we find a good role in this ecosystem to serve them and to be, I can say, relevant for them? So also to see how can I ease or can I change my way of doing business to adapt my style to new type of customer. So that's,
can you give us sorry, Patrick, sorry to interrupt you, but can you give me an example how iBasis, the Tofan Group, changed, let's say, part or a big piece of the business model, how to address this? How did you do it?
I mean, again, you have your core capabilities, which is to terminate calls in a quality manner all over the world. Then you have some more complex services on the voice. You know, I speak about the free phone services, the local DID, the mobile DID, and all of that, which is very useful for those new type of players. So how can you beef up your offer? All of them somehow is a set of national services, you know, where you need to get coverage on the mobile DID and on a free phone number. And so we know that's the reverse charging on the billing side. So how can you adapt your system? How can you adapt your NOC, your sales process to be more efficient on that point, because you rely on third party. A company like iBasis historically has been an R&D based company. You know that iBasis has the patent from the voice over IP back to 25 years ago. Now to move this organization to be much more open to partnership, because I guess what is very important is to know who you are and to know who you are not, and to partner with the strong player. And that's why, you know, for me, you will never hear me to say that there is only a seat for the big carriers and we don't need a small guy. No, we need to know where we are competent. And for example, Ilija can confirm that doing business in Asia and Middle East, this is very different than doing business in US or doing business in South America. And having the local competencies, the local knowledge, and the segment knowledge, the sub-segment knowledge, you know, it's important. And that's why the role of integrator of company like Alper, Odine, is very important, because again, it can complement and to help all of us to come with a comprehensive offer for the different type of customer that we have. And if you just we speak about the mobile ecosystem forum. If you just speak about the mobile operator, you know you have mobile operator having 20 million subscribers, having 2,000 people on the payroll, and then you have some mobile operator in small country having 80 people on the payroll, because it's a smaller market. But smaller market doesn't mean that the customer expect to receive less service than in a big market. So then they rely much more on third party to complement their offer. So that's really a kind of, I can say, constant reasoning that you need to have as a player in this market. And I finish my long answer to your number portability. I guess number portability is important on twofold. On the quality side, to get the most direct path to terminate the traffic, and on the commercial side, because it help you, if you are more knowledgeable than your competitor in some market, to find, I can say, niche positioning or arbitrage zone that will able to do that. The problem is to concentrate that effort in few countries. This is something which is, I mean, I guess good practice that each of us can do that. But in an ideal world, you should be able to solve the number portability globally, both for voice and for SMS. And that's a challenge. So again, that's why having flexible system, good bunch on partner behind you, and the right mentality, I guess it's still there. So I would say it's a challenge because of the size of and the complexity, if you want to sort out through the whole world, but there are a lot of part of answers that you can bring together to come with an integrated answers to that. I hope it's clear.
Yeah, clear. Thank you. Ilija, Patrick was mentioning that certainly in, let's say, that there are some regional differences in how to do business in, let's say, Middle East, Africa, Asia is completely different than, or completely, but mainly different from, let's say, the Americas or Europe. Do you agree? And what do you see as, let's say, the main concerns and challenges we have in the voice market industry?
Oh, I couldn't agree more. Absolutely. And also, thank you, Alper, for bringing to light basically the need for technology and the deployment of cutting edge state-of-the-art technology. I think also, like Patrick said, I mean, it's impossible, let's say, for each player to try to do everything. And especially with the technology that is developing very, very fast, it is inevitable that we form a group of participants who are collaborating. Of course, consolidation is a huge topic, but at the end of the day, it is absolutely key that there is a collaboration between different stakeholders in the market, whether they are providing a very small piece of the business, or they can cover a bigger one. Like number portability. To have a global solution, you need a global footprint, and there are also for the toll-free numbers and DID business, you need a global footprint. Otherwise, for a player like MGI or, for instance, Alper, there's no need to try to develop this capability. And I think for big players, it's important that they can provide a very simple API to the market, which allows new market entrants who have the market power, the sales power to basically generate and grab business, so that they provide a simple API in collaboration with people like Alper, platform providers, and to be able to find the access to these markets where the development has not yet reached the same level. And if you're talking about regional differences, I mean, in Africa, you have a lot of countries where also the big MNOs have invested a lot of money, but the ARPUs we are observing simply do not justify to go to the next step. Everybody first wants to have return on investment on the money that has already been invested. So, okay, 2G maybe not, but there are a lot of 3G networks which still need to be paid. So nobody's just gonna put 4G or 5G in if there is a ARPU of $1 or $2. And I think there you have huge differences, and especially in smaller countries, this poses a big issue on the investment side. So there I see still a good space, especially for people like Odine and also for us, to help in these regions, to drive the development of technology, the deployment, with business models where basically the capex is relatively low, but it's more as a service which can be paid out of the money that is earned on the spot.
Okay, thank you. So Alper, Ilija was already talking about you, and he's right, of course. So how can you help us in the digital transformation, and how do you see actually what the main concerns and challenges are in the voice industry?
Thanks to Patrick, thanks to Ilija. I fully agree with him actually. as a solutions provider, we are supposed to be having an active role to overcome today's and future's problems, and we are really following up the market trends and the existing issues that our customers have in real time, and we are trying to create solutions, and we are not doing bad so far. Let's look at what's happening today. Actually, yeah, we have been having issues with the market, but this COVID situation, again, I will get back to the COVID situation, has triggered some muscles, has started flexing some muscles for the consumer and for the operator as well. So now we have this new habit of working, which increased the traffic and changed the traffic patterns and the needs. So what was the concern? What was the biggest challenge for the voice market? The biggest challenge, we had two big challenges. One, the traffic shifting from the legacy networks to OTTs, right? So it reduced the traffic on the wholesale network operators and wholesale middlemen, and the declining margins again because of the OTT giving everything free of charge. But now, I think the end user is looking for more. Why? Because the OTT in the end, it's a best effort type of service. But today, when we are having this meeting online, we need quality, and we need real good quality to keep up with the requirements of a physical meeting now being handled on a digital platform, and this cannot be handled on a transportation layer or on a technology which is working on a best effort manner. Having said that, the challenges that we were having now are becoming the opportunities. Why? What the industry has been fighting against so far, like fraud, OTT, cheap margins. Now the consumer will not be satisfied with the service that they are getting from the existing suppliers who are competing against the operators. At that point, using technology, using virtualization, using Ultra HD voice, using end-to-end quality of service, having dedicated and privately managed networks between operators, we can differentiate the voice service. And the differentiation will not be just as per pricing anymore. The differentiation will come from quality, real quality, through maybe IP access, through maybe virtual platforms, through intelligent AI-based systems, which is managing your networks, adapting the networks based on quality needs, bandwidth needs. And referring to the first question, this kind of investment, this kind of need coming from the consumer being reflected as an investment need in the infrastructure will become an entry barrier for the middlemen. So the big players, the incumbents, the tier ones who have the capability to invest into technology, who have the vision to invest into technology, and who see the benefits of differentiating the voice product via giving better service, better quality through dedicated networks and new technologies will win. So the challenges, the way I see, the only way I see to overcome the existing challenges of diminishing volumes and price erosion is this.
Okay, thank you. Ilija, let me go to you first. So we see a lot of things going on, and we did discuss already, let's say, the first half hour now from opportunities we see, the challenges we're facing, and what we actually should need to do. But so, do you think that the wholesale voice industry is actually ready to answer actually the environment, the current environment, but also the ever and faster, ever changing environment? What's your view on that? Are we ready?
Well, I think this is an ongoing process, and we all have learned in the last 20 years or longer to be efficient, you know, to save money, to find new business models, to be innovative. And I mean, Alper just mentioned a very important point. You know, 20 years back, the entry barrier, just from an infrastructure point of view, in terms of cost, was so much higher that basically we've been always among ourselves. So it was a small group of players, everybody knew each other, who were participating in that market one way or another. And Patrick mentioned it's a people business, and actually I'm very happy that lately I can feel that this old boys and sorry girls network is coming back together, because the only values we can rely on today, apart from technology, etc., is trust into each other's offering and service. And without this, I don't see much gain for anybody. You have a myriad and a lot of players out there who I'm sure with good intentions have invested money and a lot of money in order to play a role in this market. But compared to the investment they would have had to take 20 years back, it's very little. And unfortunately, I think this seems to mislead certain people to believe that they can participate in a sustainable business. This is simply no longer the case, and it can only happen if you focus, collaborate, and if you do not participate in the hobbying business as we know it, where you have below MTR rates, bypass, inboxes, etc. I mean, all of these opportunities are there, and interesting enough, everybody plays it. I mean, all the big ones have multiple products, from premium to cheap and cheerful, optimum, whatever you call it. And on the other hand, they are saying, no, we want to control the fraud, we don't want to support it. But as long this kind of market is still there, because people want to drive revenues, we will still see space for small players who are trying to do daily opportunity trading on that. So I think it still needs a little bit of more pain for everybody to understand where we are actually going. But I see we are on a very good track, and I'm passionate to participate in it going forward.
Thank you, Ilija. Patrick, are we ready for this for furthermore in this industry? And then moreover, is do you agree with Ilja's words that we're actually now at a start, and we still need a little bit more pain to make sure that we go back to the old ladies and boys network?
Being a Belgium land of compromise, you know, I would say yes and no. I guess it's as Ilija said, it's a constant evolution. So yes, today we have a lot of part of the solution to solve that, but there are plenty of new part of the solution that still need to be produced and invented and continue to be maintained. So I guess the only stuff we will not change is the continuous change environment that we are. So you need to be awake, ready to move fast, to move flexible. And that was the vision of Alexandre Pebro when he wanted to create this independent player, totally focusing on that business. I mean, the management, all the board is focusing on that business. And we are not, I mean, all of us, we have worked for big groups, and you know, in big groups that the retail business is probably the most important part because the margin are higher. And sometimes you know that you have some action to do for your wholesale business, but by the way, you don't have access to capital or resources because it's used by the retail business. And I guess that's why this non-stop changing environment, you need to be always flexible, agile. Also, being a wholesaler, we are the cutting edge of the business to business. We are selling telecom services to telecom professionals. You know, so that's why flexibility, agility, it's important. And I will have a slight, can say, difference compared to the message of Ilija on the fact that all of the players are, you know, playing all the card and all the type of traffic. I guess what we try, at least from the iBasis point of view, is to, because we are here for the long run and we want to be seen as a long-term partner, is to partner with operators to help them, to provide them solution to value their business. And so that's why it's difficult. It doesn't make sense for us to try to bypass them. At the same time, we want to help them. So I would say more and more the focus is about that strategy to protect our customer and to give additional value to our customer. So that's key in the positioning that Tofan iBasis has for the moment.
Okay, thank you. I'm just looking at the chat box, guys, and quite some questions are coming in, and maybe Alper, I can address this one to you. We were just talking about, let's say, the business model and the business model we use and the transformation where we're going through. But and thank you, Julian Odada, for your questions. But don't you think that the real problem is the model itself, selling on a per minute basis to companies, end users? Is that sustainable? I mean, on the other hand as well, if the quality is okay, will the wholesaler change selling it by minutes? What do you think?
Well, actually, I think
not easy. I know. It's not easy, but
it's. I think it's the right question at the right time. The existing business model cannot continue because, you know, when technology is evolving, all these middlemen and all these blending, ways of blending, fraud, all these tools to somehow have a leverage against your competition, for the middlemen I'm talking, will remain, and there will be always ways to blend traffic and play with the cost base while keeping the quality okay, and then damaging the whole industry. This cannot continue like this. And selling voice as an item per minute, well, it might continue, but if you cannot differentiate the product, you cannot cope up with the other players who are killing the market via just playing with the pricing, which is causing all this price erosion. And the industry is already bleeding while the minutes are disappearing. The minutes are going somewhere else, and that somewhere else is either fraud or the OTT. So how do you stop that? I think that is the main question to be asked. So according to GSMA, we have about 158 operators who have launched voice over LTE as of October 2018 in over 78 countries. And when you look at the LTE market, there are about 695 operators and 212 countries who have launched LTE services, and high definition voice has been enabled in more than 164 operators across 88 countries.
Which was not always an easy task, we know.
It was not. Given that the operators have invested a lot of time and money in voice over LTE networks and deployments, we all know services and handsets enabled with voice over LTE infrastructure will be there for a very long time. And there are two surveys that GSMA conducted with their HD voice subscribers recently. One is showing more than 70% of the customers choosing HD voice as the loyalty factor. So, if we keep the traditional business going, it's obvious that the market will be diminishing and the market will be gone quite soon. But if we find new ways of differentiating the service, which is voice, from a transportation or technology perspective, no matter if you're selling it per minute or no matter if you're selling it as a fixed ARPU type of service, you can make a difference. And the question, is the industry ready to answer the ever-changing environment? 2 years ago, it wasn't. Today, it is ready. Why? Because the technology that the OTTs were using are now available for the telcos as well. 2-3 years ago, all these technologies, mainly open source based, running on open source operating systems,
Correct.
or Red Hat or Linux or Kubernetes, these technologies are today available for the telco as well. So using the same technology, the telcos can minimize their CapEx and OpEx spendings while enabling different type of voice services compared to the OTT players or the small middlemen using SIM boxes or this or that. And the good thing is that now these technologies are affordable, available, and with all the improvements in AI technology, when you combine artificial intelligence with telco cloud technologies, network virtualization, and when you put a smart OSS, BSS on top to automate everything, you do not need that many resources to manage the network. You can run end-to-end full HD voice network, which none of your competition, apart from the tier ones or the big tier twos who own a network, can compete. And there you go. So you can now cope up with the issues that you have been facing for the last 5-10 years. And today is the day to start investing into it so that you can save your future while the consumer is requesting this. Why is the consumer requesting this? Why is the consumer requesting augmented voice or full high definition voice or ultra high definition voice? Because this is the only way of communication left after the COVID situation. And yeah, this might sound temporary, but now the new working habits and the fact that now we can do this conference online and we can still share whatever we have been sharing after doing all those travels and flights and gatherings in the hotels. Now we know that we can do it without traveling. And now this is becoming a new way of telco consumption and voice. We will also, this is my personal, I would say, foreseeing, is now getting into a new era with some technological enhancements, which require some investment into the networks, and we will see a lot of growth. This is the way I see it.
So is it then, Alper, and thank you, what you're mentioning, that once a lot of, let's say, the tier ones, tier twos, and some bigger tier threes are actually making those investments, it's coherent with what Ilija mentioned, that with this, let's say, the middleman will be more and more wiped out, because we're still talking about quite some investments. It's not, and getting that from, let's say, a pie which is getting smaller and smaller and smaller for middleman, it's becoming more and more difficult. So is it your prophecy that you say, listen, due to the technical solution, due to the digital transformation we are currently going through, due to the fact that the disruptive elements we had over the last 2 years from the OTTs, it enabled us actually to actually wipe out and clean up naturally with the current, with the natural and with the important investments next to it, of course, to wipe out, let's say, the middleman, and therefore what Patrick and Ilija mentioned is increasing massively the quality of service as well. Is that what you're saying?
As Ilija and Patrick very well mentioned, 20 years ago, there were entry barriers. So there were no middlemen. The ones who were serious with investments were getting into the business, making the investment and running networks. But recently, you could simply become a wholesaler. You could simply become a tier 3, tier 4 operator, just buying an open source soft switch, investing $2,000-$3,000, and you're there. You're in the game. But today, due to the need of changing the way the networks are behaving and changing the way voice alone is is being treated as a service, which will become quite soon a very resource intensive, high quality or ultra high definition type of service. You will need to make a lot of investment into your infrastructure, and this will become a big entry barrier for all those middlemen, and they will have no chance to compete against what the big players are offering.
Okay, Patrick?
Unmute. So let me maybe precise my thinking about two of the points we just addressed.
Yes, please,
about the
please.
middlemen. I guess we need to consider the different middlemen. There are middlemen with added value and middlemen with tiny added value. You know, for me,
Sure.
and Ilija, correct me if I'm wrong, but I guess it's the middleman who will disappear and the guy who have no added value. You know, one of the guy in the wholesale chain, carrier number 5, who has 3 hubs behind him. This guy doesn't have value anywhere on the system. Our role being, because we are all middlemen, I mean, that's our job. We are between the two retail, arm and all of that. It's to make the life of our customer easier, to solve them not only the technical complexity, but also the financial complexity. You know, to make sure that the money goes from A to Z in a proper way, and the trust is very important on that, to make sure that you are paid by people like us. And the technical stuff in this world, which is changing even faster every day, you will have to compose with more and more different level of technology. I mean, we spoke about the 2G, we speak about the 5G, there are different instances of the 5G, OTT and all that, and we need to make sure that everybody for this very complex world can discuss with each other. And that's our role. We are here to make the complexity simple for our customer. So that's why I wanted to reposition that about the middleman. Second point is about this MTR discussion. I guess, again, there is no such thing as one telecom world. And MTR is key for some of the emerging country, or you can say touristic country. This is one of the ways to bring currency in the country. And from us, from Western Europe, with very tiny MTRs and termination rate for the fixed, for us, we tend to forget that. But for some of the country, this is one of the main source of currency into the country. So for them, maintaining this type of MTR is something key for not only the operator, but for the country itself. So that's why to just think that we will erase this MTR with a magic touch, I guess it may be true in some part of Europe, in some part of very developed market. And then you can, typically when you see in France, probably the most competitive market on the retail side, there's a bundle with your subscription that you have 140 fixed destination for included in your package. When we are in Europe with Home Like Home, when you are abroad, out of your country, you can phone the rest of Europe unlimited with no cost per minute. So that this MTR stuff become less and less relevant, you know. So that's why, again, this complexity, I know that, and specifically people who are on the OTT side think about this MTR is totally an outdated model. It can probably be true in some part of the world, some part of the market, but in some other part of the market, this is really foundational part of the, not only the telecom ecosystem, but also about the economic ecosystem of some country. That's what I wanted to position.
Ilija, do you want to add on that quickly?
Yes, absolutely. Thank you, Patrick, for this. I think, of course, the MTR model seems annoying in a lot of cases. It's annoying in terms of administration. It's annoying in terms of trade. Of course, for those who are in the business for a long time, it's what we kept holding on to. But clearly, in Europe, if you have an operator, you know, you have quadruple play. All of us probably pay between 50 and 100 euros, depending where we are, to you know, have internet, TV, voice, whatever. So the operators are very happy that they can just collect that money and actually invest into more database networks and you know, get rid of the old radio access networks that support voice. But in other countries, like Patrick just mentioned, I mean, let's take South Sudan. I happen to know that very well. Yes, South Sudan, you have, you know, MTN has an ARPU of $9, which is the highest ARPU from all the MTN opcos. But in South Sudan, you have, it's landlocked, there is no fiber, or they say there is fiber, but it's not useful. So all the connectivity comes in via satellite. The government has, it's a young country, the government has no ownership on critical infrastructure that could be distributed to the different market participants. It's all based on private sector who is building according to their needs.
Guys, apologies. I think we have a problem coming up, but anyway, I think the big takeaway today is actually, while we were talking about the evolution of voice with the senior panelist, I think is that the voice market is absolutely changing. Consolidation is going on with the regional differences we have. We discussed the challenges and the opportunities we see in the market of today. And with those words, I would like to thank Patrick George, who is the Executive Vice President and co-founder of iBasis Tofan Group. Also Alper Burak, who is the CEO of Odine Solutions. And of course, last but not least, Ilija Reymond, co-founder and CEO of MGI. Anyway, despite the problems, again, apologies for that. The audience out there, I would really sincerely would like to thank you for joining us. We were talking about the at the MEF forum today about the evolution of the voice. And my name is Erik. I will say ciao for now and wish you all the best. Stay safe and stay tuned to the MEF. Thank you.